Says audio is included. It's good now.
Okay. So your question is, how do we go about explaining denominations? I think your original question was,
Should Christians have denominations?
yeah, should we have them? So, and I'm going to be kind of hitting on two different ways of explaining this. So I think the most basic answer of should they, um, I think the answer would be no in a technical sense, because it divides people. Um, so that's the big thing, is because like we see that hugely with Protestants and Catholics, or any type of Orthodox version of Christianity, where you see lots of division, and the division leads to sometimes some really bad stuff in history. You know, big fights, almost wars, awful things that have happened to other denominations. So I think there are some things to be concerned about. However, it's just a part of human nature that is just merely undeniable. Um, as humans, we're all gonna, do something, read something incorrectly, either due to information that I have that you don't, or information that you have that I don't,
Or
or whatever it
misinterpreting
may be.
stuff?
Exactly. Maybe we're using some kind of presuppositional thought and interpreting a specific passage, or maybe we were brought up in a particular way to read passage X as this, and we go with that interpretation because that's how we were taught. Um, so I would say we shouldn't. However, it's undeniable. It's something that we as humans will never get around, because humans disagree on literally everything.
What I
Someone
believe,
would probably try to disagree with me on that.
what I believe, a lot of denominations and stuff, and not just
Yeah,
the differentiation and beliefs in general. Where I think the
right.
majority of it comes from is taking stuff out of context. Now, that's a whole video in itself. You can make
Partly.
you
Yep.
can make
So,
something say whatever you want it to say if you take just one verse and highlight it by itself.
yeah.
Without
Now,
reading above and below it.
that's the interesting thing, is I think this is where we can then branch it, the second part of the video, into this, is how did we get to what we call denominations? Why is there so many denominations? Well,
There's thousands of them, I think.
I think the reason, yeah, there's around 4,000 or so,
Probably
and
more than that.
the reason why, and I'm a Protestant, so I don't want somebody to make it seem like I'm trying to hate on somebody's specific denomination. I'm a Protestant, but I do think a lot of it had to do with us Protestants. The confusion, because in the history, the story that I'm getting behind here is the Catholics. The one good thing that the Catholics have done is they all had a universal. Because that's what the word Catholic means, universal. You had a universal church, that you had a system of popes that would say, here's how we interpret passage X, and there's no deviation from its understanding. So everybody in the church would view passage X like this. However, the Protestants came along and said, the Luther story, where Luther took the 95-page thesis and stapled it onto the front of the Catholic Church, basically saying that everything that the Catholic Church teaches is not everything, but the main coherence of what the Catholic Church teaches is incorrect. So Luther objected to what the Catholics were teaching, whether it be purgatory, whether it be just justification or glorification, whether it be burning heretics at the stake, just all kinds of things. You can read his 95-page thesis online for free, if anybody would be interested. But I think this is why we got so many denominations today, is because when Luther came out with his, we call it the Reformation was so world-changing because of the way that he taught it. As I said, the Catholic Church saw it as, here's some popes and some bishops that can all interpret the Bible for us, but we don't have the capacity, as other random Catholics, to really go deeper into the Bible. So it's really up to them to tell us how to view it. However, the Protestants with Luther, as I'm saying, they had a different view. Their view was that the Holy Spirit can indwell you, and while the Holy Spirit indwells you, he can help you to interpret the Bible itself. And this is kind of what you're getting at here. When that view started with the Protestants, that It's where you start getting into, hey, well, I'm reading it this way, and this guy's reading it this way, and this other group wants to read it this way. So some of it is an issue with us Protestants. We started some of the problem with interpretation of so many denominations. However, I don't necessarily see it as a completely awful thing. Obviously, it would be nice if we didn't have 4,000 denominations. However, what I always say to people is that, like, just because we have so many denominations doesn't necessarily mean anything, because we all agree on more than we don't agree on. Like, me and a Catholic, for example, would agree on like 99% of everything in the Bible, more than likely. Maybe 95, 98%. There'd be a little subtract of that percentage where we wouldn't agree.
Well,
So,
I believe it's the correct me if I'm wrong. I want to say it's the Baptists that they have the really
hmm
strong belief in the once saved always saved.
oh, uh-huh. Yeah,
That's something that divides a lot of people
hmm
too.
yeah.